Alright, ladies and lads, welcome back to Editing 101. I know a lot of you guys have been hitting me up asking me to go ahead and do the next part to the series, so here it is. It's going to be a very simple episode, as none of them are ever going to be as long as the first one. The first one, if you guys have not seen it, is on literally the most important parts of editing, at least in my opinion. So I put a lot of time into making sure that the right information was there for you guys to just grab and grow with it. So here in the next episode, we're going to focus on very simple effects to help highlight your videos and make them have that, I guess, kind of a twinkle to them, to make them a little bit more higher quality and more appreciable than just a typical drag drop. So let's get into this. So you guys haven't seen what I've done since we last, since we last said goodbye to this. I sunk the rest of the clips, so I'm going to go ahead and let you see where we're at.
Smoke fills the room as my lungs turn black. I've lost my conviction to pull the knife out of my back. Caught inside these burning lies, left beside myself, and it's clear that I won't ever find. Yeah, I'm lost.
So as you guys can see, I finished up the sync past the World War II clip, and it would appear as though we're ready to start putting our effects on. I don't have any other clips left, so for the sake of the tutorial, we're just gonna get right into this. So what we're gonna be doing first is making sure our audio is done and ready to go so that the video is more presentable. So we're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to make sure that the audio in the beginning is good to go and there's no trouble. I think it's going to be because of this beat that we started off here where it just picks up, so I think we should be fine. Yeah, okay, so we're good. So now we're going to right-click the open area on the right side of the audio track, and similar to the composite level, we're going to pull up a volume thing. We did this for the clips, for the audio to the clips anyway. So we can manipulate it and make it better. I went over this in the last video, so again, if you didn't watch that, you need to go watch that, because that's where you're going to pick up most of the stuff that's where you're going to pick up most of the stuff you're going to want to know. So we're just going to add a simple fade in case there's any slight crackling, just so it can up the quality. We're literally doing this over dead air. So if you're wondering why I'm not being too specific or tedious about this, we just want to make sure the dead air fades in, because who knows, maybe there's some slight stuff going on that some people will pick up, and we don't want anybody to have a reason to complain. So that's good. We have it here. The text comes in sunk to that marker where the beat, the music kicks off. So that's good. Now we have to worry about the end, because the end doesn't end on anything significant, and not a lot of people not a lot of people who are going to put very minimal time into their videos, they're not going to be able to, get to where they want to be. Like, I wanted to get here, but I didn't have enough clips to do it. So, I didn't bother. I should have probably bothered and gone and get others, but this is probably better for the tutorial's sake, to show you guys how you can actually end a video from this point. So, if we listen.
It's clear that I won't ever find.
So from listening to that, you can realize we can do a nice simple fade off, because this does end on a, I guess, significant beat. I mean, in respect to the shot itself, it doesn't end on it ends on a nice strike, a nice downbeat. So we'll watch the whole clip again, and then we'll mess with the music.
Caught inside these burning lies, left beside myself, and it's clear that
So basically, we're going to grab the music. We're going to go somewhere before the final shot. It doesn't have to be too specific, and we're going to go out now. We're going to give this some room to breathe, or some room to fade, I guess I should say. we're going to go to maybe 55 seconds. If you know anything about me, I'm super fond of getting my videos to end on specific points, whether it be 1 minute, 1 minute and 11 seconds, 11 minutes and 11 seconds, like When We Were Kings 2 and Otaku's Taj Extremity. So I'm very fond of that. So we're gonna stick with 55 seconds because it's just the most appealing to my eyes. So we have that point that we set here where it's set to 0 decibels, the default. Same thing with the beginning, by the way. I wasn't too specific about that. You always want to leave it at 0. It's not like the composite level where you push it to the top, because that's going to double the volume. It's going to be, or not, I don't know what it translates to, but it's going to pop that shit up. So don't do that. Obviously the bottom, the infinite, I believe it's called, yeah, infinite negative decibels, that's going to be absolute 0. You're not going to hear anything. So we have this right before the last shot, and then we're going to set another point at the end by our 55 seconds where we want it to end, and we're just going to drag it down to the infinite, and we're going to leave it there on that cursor. And now, as far as the audio is concerned, it's not going to be the most appealing place for the end of the video, you know, for the end of the edit, just because it's not like a significant, like, end of a chorus or something like that, or the end of an actual song. But, you know, it's the best we can do with the amount of clips we had. So I feel like this will help a lot of people, because not a lot of people really get how to end a video like this. So here we go. This is how that'll look. So actually, it picks up because as you remember, I was gonna end it here originally because that's where it's nice and it ends well. So we're actually going to pull this back. We're going to leave it to 55 seconds so I know where I'm going to end my render. Just so it's a mental note. And we're going to drag this back a little bit just so we don't let it pick up. Because if we let it pick up, then people are going to realize in the back of their head, oh, well, that's not even like the end of the song, even though it's fading out in the middle of the song. People will, you know, people will still appreciate it as though it's the end of the song because it's the end of the video. So we want to eliminate the idea of them thinking about the song not actually being over. So we're going to cut out that end bit like I just did. I dragged it over. Let's see if that was enough. Alright, just a little bit more like this. That should be perfect. Let's listen. So yeah, that was clean. It wasn't too messy. Obviously not the desired way to end an edit, but it's the way we're going to go about it. So we have this done as well. We moved it over a little bit more, so it's almost at the second to last shot. So let's listen to that. So, yeah, we seem to be in a good place there. For the last shot, I forgot to do this. Always remember to make sure you kill it. And we should be good. So, now that that's done, I think I might want to do a transition outward. So, what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the beat and see how we're going to do it. Whether it's going to be a transition leading from the beat or into the beat. So we're going to do from the beat. So we're going to extend it past the beat. Into the beat would be something like this, where the transition happens and the end of the transition is the beat. That's what I mean by that. But for the sake of the audio, we're going to do it like, it just sounds like something is striking. So when something strikes, there is a result. You know what I'm saying? So you punch something, it's going to say ow, but it doesn't say ow before the punch. So we're going to treat it like that. Honk honk, I live in New York. Make fun of me. Go on. So we're going to set this transition. We're going to do something very simple. We're going to do... There's a couple of transitions here. I'll go over them throughout this part of the tutorial. So we're going to focus on mainly Venetian Blind, Iris, and Linear Wipe. These are just the basic ones that you're going to ever want. Venetian Blinds, we're going to use this. Okay, we're going to set the angle to 90. We're going to leave the feather and the number of blinds as is. Okay, and now as you see, it's going to open up from the center and it's just going to close out. Okay, we I kind of want it to be the inverse now that I'm looking at it. I thought this would look good in my head, but see, it doesn't look terrible, but I feel like having it close from the tops into the middle would be the better option, and there's no way we can do that with Venetian blinds. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it with the mask tool. So now you guys have an understanding of Venetian blinds, so you can apply that to your own edits whenever the hell you want. It's really simple, really helpful transition. So let's do the exact opposite, but in here. So we're going to go one frame back from the beginning of our transition, and we're just going to, set like a keyframe so that there's nothing going on. So it's just easier on your computer, and it's easier to like look over when you're looking back on the project. So now we're going to set our mask. We're going to take our rectangle tool. If you don't have it, sucks to suck, but you're going to have to use your pen tool, which is up here, this one, the anchor creation tool, and you're going to have to do the exact same thing. Just go along this top line, yes, make it, and then the bottom line, make it. It's going to be a lot harder for you, but for me it was really simple. I advise, if you do not, use Vegas 13. Vegas 13 is by far the best. So now, as you can see, if we zoom out, the middle line, the middle little yellow dot right here, that shows the perfect middle, and as you can see, it lines up with this row of dots. It's like 1 2 1 2. You see these dots? Yes. So we're going to use those dots as a guideline, and we're going to pull this actually, I'm sorry, I messed that up. So we don't want to go over our keyframe. Never make that mistake, because you're not going to be able to get it back. It's going to be annoying. So you want to make sure you go over, just so you can still see on the thing. It doesn't matter, you're going to be able to move the keyframe, and you're going to set it so that it lines up with those dots, just like that. You see these dots to the left, where that original yellow one was? It was lining up with these dots, so we went ahead and moved it so that the top was now there. It's a little, the way I'm wording it's a little confusing, but if you realize, all we did was move the middle of this, like we grabbed it from there, and we moved this top line down to this point, lined up with these rows of dots in the center. And you were able to identify it was the center because before, the yellow dot was there to show you the perfect center. So that's very simple. Just drag it down, make it lined up like that, and then you drag up the bottom line just like that and have it match up. And then what we're going to do, we're going to move it over to the end. So now the exact opposite of what the Venetian blind looked like. However, I'm thinking this would actually look better now as into the marker. So we're just going to bring this over here, and we're going to, bam, just drag it back, and now it shuts, and now it's going to seem like this is causing the downbeat. This is what's making the drum beat happen. So that's how it's going to feel. And then we make it slow, similar to like we would with a velo. So it'll be slow and then pick up, and it'll hit and it'll close. So boom. You see that change in speed? Like it's very, 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 very calm at first. It's kind of like it's creeping, and then you see how significantly it picks up and it just closes. So that's what we're doing, and it's going to feel like the drum beat now. Perfect. So now we have the video ending the way we want. We can eliminate these markers from the equation now, seeing as we aren't going to utilize them. And we can set a marker at the very end, so we know this is the very end. This is our desired render time, 55 seconds. Double click that to adjust your loop region, which is simply just the space that will be rendered when you render it. And now we have the video ending well, the video beginning well, which we sorted out in the previous tutorial. Now we're going to dip into some other transitions that I was talking about, like those 2 or 3 others. Basic stuff that'll help you make some seamless transitions for when you see them necessary. So right here, between the first and second clip, I can already tell that a transition would be nice going away from this. So we're going to actually use Venetian Blinds since we rejected it last time. We were kind of rude to Venetian Blinds. So we're going to make it up to Venetian, and we're going to use them right here. You could do it any way you want. You can have it open from the middle horizontally, or you can set the angle to 90 like I said earlier. And bam, done. And it opens from the center, and I personally really like that. Bam, and it'll work really well. You can set it however fits well with the song. For the song, I found it well at like 15, maybe 16, 17. And here's what we're going to do. Similar to velocity and the volume and composite levels, we're going to right click and insert a transition progress. So it's another line that you can manipulate, and we're just going to set it to fast so it pops and then it slows down. Very seamless. So pop, you know? So it's very simple stuff. Very simple stuff. Now we're going to find another transition to do, or another place to put a transition. We're probably going to go over here. Meh. Let's see. Yeah, that could work. So let's see if we can do another away from. Let's right click, transition properties up top. And what was the other one that I said I would show you guys? Linear wipe. So linear wipe, we're actually going to do the exact opposite. We're going to do it into the marker again. So we need to extend this backwards, and just like that. Now for linear wipe, you always want to be at around like 10-ish, so maybe 11 at most. And we want to set a transition progress and make it slow instead of fast. So just like that, wham. So it's going to be like slowly creeping, just like this. And then it's going to increase in speed, and it's going to be a lot nicer. However, obviously, it doesn't look too great. It might to you, but for me, the way I like to do mine, you know, again, this is all, you can do whatever you want with what I'm showing you here. You can turn it into whatever. You can be creative as possible. You don't have to go treat me like I treat these tutorials like it's a rule book. It's just my suggestions to help you guys learn. So I personally hate feather on transitions. It's something that I just don't like. I don't find it very nice looking or anything, and I use this transition quite often. So now that I'm showing you it, you'll probably recognize it in a lot of my edits. So simple. Angle 45, done. You can do, you know, multiples of these to get like similar angles. So 135, or yeah, and then it's like that, and then you can do like, I think it's 225. Bang, and it's just the exact same thing, but it's coming from the other side. You know what I'm saying? So we could do stuff like that, but for now we're just gonna leave it at 45. I feel like that'll look best here, and it's just gonna come in, and it's gonna cause the beat. That's what you want to realize. You either want your transitions to cause the beat or be the effect from the beat. So right here, it looks like because this is swiping in and it gets faster, it's gonna make impact with the bottom right of the screen. Bang, that's where the beat happens. And that's why it happens. Or with this one over here that we did just now, because of the beat, boom, it opens. So it's a very neat way to look at it, and it's an easy way for you to remember in case you're ever freaking out about a transition. Now let's give this transition a peek and see if it came out nice. So it came out very nice. It's very clean. It's very simple. Perfect. Done. Now I'm going to show you guys a transition that you don't have to have any regard for the beat. It's a very nice transition. It looks very nice, and you can do a lot of things with it, with effects and stuff as you get more advanced. But we're not going to dive into that stuff. We're just going to dive into what the transition is. So we're just going to pick a random clip. So I think I'm going to go right here between these two. We'll do this. We'll have it so he's running. We'll have it right there. So we'll have it be like 30 something, whatever. We can adjust this whenever. We're going to go into gradient wipe, okay? You can use gradient wipe. You can use all of these, but the one I'm going to show you guys is very clean. It's called Nebulous, okay? You can, so I'll show you guys what it looks like. Just base default Nebulous. People don't like to explore these, but it is so nice. Like you see, it has this nice flow to it, and it's really elegant almost. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna show you guys. You can flip it horizontally, you can horizontally mirror it so it's the same, and then vertically mirror it so it's just perfectly symmetrical in all four quadrants. Vertically flip the entire thing. You can do whatever you want and turn this into its own different transition. You can have it do it the other way, but I don't really like that. There's so much you can do. So have fun exploring with this transition. It's a nice transition that you can do. You can have it be an effect you can have it be the reason a beat happens or the effect from a beat, but this transition really shines where it's just meshing them together, and it's not either or, it's just happening during the beat. So you can see I have the beat in the middle here. It's represented by my marker and the waveform, and I just have it happening. This transition's just happening. So we're going to set a vertical flip, and we're going to set a vertical mirror, and there you go, that looks pretty exotic. So bam.
Caught inside.
So very simple, very clean stuff. So I've shown you guys a transition option for being the effect of a beat and being the result of a beat. Now also during a beat, just free form, whatever the hell you want. There's one more transition I can go over with you guys. There's one more transition I'm willing to go over with you guys. Just something very simple, just to complete like a little transition thing in your head, just so you guys have a ton of options. Very simple stuff. We're gonna go over here to where it turns from the Moore's clip on a W into the World War II clip, and we're gonna do a shape transition using Iris. Iris is a really helpful transition. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open it up and we're gonna click on circle out. No, circle out center, the very first one, I'm sorry. Very simple stuff. We're not gonna mess with anything here yet. You can do some very simple stuff like this. You can use that for a scope transition too. So you can just have the circle open up and then bam, gunshot. So you can, play with that as you will. Nice little idea for you. Okay, so we're gonna pull this back a little bit so it has more room. Right away, it looks fine, right? And then you can open this up. You can do a diamond. You can do all these other shapes. You can do a triangle to the right, upside down. You can do arrowheads. You can do ovals. You could do rectangles. You could do whatever you want. Right now, I like that circle. You could do in, so it like contracts rather than. You could have it so it closes in on itself rather than it expanding. So very, very nice stuff. I'm going to leave it like that. That's actually pretty cool looking. So there you go, boys. There are a ton of transitions that you guys can utilize in your own edits, in your own little mini-tages, montages, or whatever the hell you're looking at this video for, or whatever the hell you want. So now I'm going to show you guys some basic effects in order to help you make your clips pop in the correct manner. So I'm only going to do this on one clip in the tutorial video, and I will do it myself after I'm done with the video. So I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to be showing you guys pan crop and color curves on top of composite level. Now these three are a very powerful duo. You can literally make your videos look very, very high quality, and people will respect it more, make it look like you put so much more effort into your videos when it really doesn't take that much effort. You see, I'm going to show you guys how to do this with the drag drop way, because I have a drag drop clip style here. Bang. And then I'm going to show you guys, if you guys want to put the time in, how to do it the proper way, I'd like to call it. So, you see right here we have this drag drop clip, meh. Okay. We want to emphasize this last shot, right? So we're going to go into the pan crop, which is the little button right here, or you can right click it and click view event pan crop. This is probably going to be a window for you, but for me on my screen I have it pinned to the bar up here. So basically we are going to make sure that this is on down here. This button, very important. The sync cursor, you want that on. You also want this on. These two. Pay attention to everything that's on and isn't on. Make sure this is correct. Move freely X and Y. Okay, you want to have everything exactly as you see here. We're going to go 7 frames out. You can go anywhere from 6 to 15 frames, whatever the hell looks best to you. You can go further than that, you can do shorter than that, but this is what I like to do, between 6 to 15. I'm going to stick with 7 because it's a very basic one, just basic, and then you just drag it into what looks best. There's another shot after this, so we're not going to go all the way out, and you'll understand what I mean by that in a second. So usually at the end of a clip we can go all the way out and, just let it, not go all the way down to the end. But for now, we're just going to do that simple screen pump. We're going to zoom it in to around there just so it's not too crazy. And then it restores right here at the end. So it's constant motion, which is very important. You can see it just adds that emphasis, like, oh shit, quad head, and it pops out at you. So you always want to have constant camera motion. That is the key. That is a very important thing, because out of nowhere, if you're just going to see a screen pump, bam, it's like, whoa, that just hit me like a ton of bricks. So even when you're doing drag drops, I would suggest, you don't have to, that you have constant camera motion, so there's always some sort of movement in the pan crop. So I'm going to the first marker, and I'm going to the very end, or I'm going to the first frame, and I'm going to the very last frame. I'm setting the last frame as restore or default or whatever, and I'm having it zoomed in the beginning, so it's just constantly moving. You'll notice that if you stare at the corners of the HUD specifically, you'll see it moving more than you would if you stare at the center. So that's how you pay attention to that. So go ahead and have a look. So now, that's very simple. That's only for the people who are lazy and they don't want to do it for every shot, which I recommend. Make sure all your shots are sunk and pan crop, blah, blah, blah. That's the way I would do it. So now we're going to go in here and we're going to just complete the job. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 7 frames. You can see down here the cursor position, like I'm hovering over it. It shows you how many frames you've gone through. If you right click it and you hit time and frames, that's how you do that. And you see I hit the frame by frame and it changes the number, so now I can see visually we're at 7 frames. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do another screen pump, but this time it's going to be a little more intense since it's the last shot of the clip and we don't have to resolve it. So now I did that. We're going to skip somewhat in so we don't rewrite our current keyframe that we just worked on, and we're just going to drag it so it doesn't go all the way back down to restore, and we just drag it to the end. And now you got to remember, you have to do this to the best of your ability, so you're going to need to watch it over and over, but from experience I know that this will probably be alright. So we're going to press play, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So it's going to zoom in with the screen pump, and it's not going to fully resolve because it doesn't need to. And it just makes it feel a lot more significant, because it's the last shot of a clip. So there's that. That is done. Very clean stuff. Now, because there is a transition here, you could treat this 2 different ways. One, we treat it like we did the first clip. We just have it zoomed in and have it slowly moving. The transition's enough of an effect, right? So we have that, and the camera is still moving. Bang, okay? So that's good to go. Or we can go back into this one, set a keyframe here, right before the transition. You see on the timeline right here, bang, bang, you can move it. Right here, before the transition, you can set it there, delete this, and then you can go in here and delete this. Now the reason I did that, I eliminated the movement of the camera during the transition period, is now the transition is done, blah blah blah, and there's no movement. We're going to open this up on the left here. It's called track motion, okay? It's very similar to pan crop. This is a bit, out of the way. You don't need to do this, but I honestly recommend this stuff. You really need to pay attention and put this type of effort into your work, and it'll be very, very well received by the people watching. So at the point where the transition begins, I set a keyframe in the track motion, and then I go to the end of this specific clip to where it's going to be, you see right here, I can go into this pan crop, and there's nothing interfering or fading between each other. And now I can do a screen pump for both at the same time. So for this one and this one. So the reason I'm going about it this way is because there's a transition going on. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay? And unlike pan crop, it's not like a zoom in, you're gonna pull it out because it's more of a 3D thing. It's very weird to explain, but unlike pan crop where you just zoom it in like normal, drag it down to the left, you see if I do that here, it'll actually make it smaller. It's as if you're moving the actual camera, the actual screen away from you. So what you want to do is you want to bring the screen closer by pulling it out, and that just creates the pan crop effect, the screen pump effect, sorry. So very simple, easy to do, and as you can see, the screen pump is going on between both clips evenly, so that's very important. Now, the more, I guess, advanced or time-consuming way to do screen pumps, you see how we sunk this clip perfectly? We took the time out of our day to do that. In the last episode, we're going to create a screen pump and just copy-paste it because the beats are very, very similar each time, even the ones that aren't shots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 frames out. What I did before this, sorry for not going over that. What I did before this is I was at, frame 1 of here. I drag this to the end just so that it's already at 0, like resolved at the end. And I just set a new keyframe by clicking this button. So now we have a beginning where it's default and an end where it's default, just so that's done and out of the way so you don't have to worry about that later. Then you go 7 frames out, because that's what we're just going to go with. You can do it however you want, though. And we're going to zoom it in. Now, what you want to pay attention to when you're editing is the HUD. When you're doing your screen pumps, it is all about the HUD. Because if I zoom it into here, like I can on some clips, it's not going to work here because I'm covering the feed, I'm covering the radar. So now this game is going to be very sensitive and very tricky. So we're going to do something like this. It literally looks like nothing. We're actually going to go a little more like that. It literally looks like nothing in the grand scheme when you're looking at it on the actual pan crop event, on this window. Okay? It looks like nothing, but it's actually a lot of movement because the HUD is moving. See, if I press play, you'll see it. You notice that. And that's exactly what you want. And especially if we're doing another one here, there's a lot less time for it to go back to default, because all I did was just highlight it, by the way, copy, click on this marker right here for the in-between beat, like so, and I set a marker, clicked it, and I clicked paste, Control V. So, bam. Now that there's less time for it to shrink back to default, as before when we watched the standalone screen pump, it had this whole space from the end of this to the end of the actual cut. Now it has to do it in time for the next screen pump. So now you're really going to notice it. And all you're going to do now is you're going to take that screen pump and you're going to, copy paste it. It's a very simple way. You're going to originally drag that first keyframe to the end, and then you just press Control V, click this, Control V, and you're going to do this for every single one. Every single shot. Every single in-between beat. Except for when you get to the end. Because when you get to the end, you want to make the end, the last shot, feel a lot more significant than this one already does. Very simple way to look at it. Very simple way to go about it. So right here, you see I'm just finishing this up. Bam. Keep dragging these to the end. Just pasting away my keyframes, and all the screen pumps are done now for everything up until this point. Now right here's where we are at the end of the clip. This is the last shot. This is the one I can tell just by looking at the timeline, because we have this transition going on right here. But this is the last one. So what I like to do, just so I can have an idea, I'm going to press paste. So we already have this. I did not drag that first keyframe to the end. Sorry about my traffic again, by the way. It's nothing I can do about it. I live in New York. You're going to have to cut me a break. Okay? So right here, we're going to drag this instead of the first one. And now we're all zoomed in on the end because we don't want it to resolve all the way. Okay? So now, we're going to go 7 frames out. You can tell by reading this, the cursor position down here. And we're going to zoom it in just like that. It's a lot more zoomed in than this one. So it's just going to slowly retract. It's going to slowly retract, but it's not going to retract all the way down to default. And what that does is, on top of the more powerful screen pump than the rest, the fact that it doesn't resolve all the way, it's just going to give you this feeling where it's like, okay, well, it's, we're good to go. It's going to give you this feeling where it's the end because it's more powerful. It's so powerful it doesn't resolve back to normal. So that's simple effect right there. So let's watch the whole completed clip. So it's hard to tell, it's hard to really appreciate it because it's a W, I know, and I deliberately chose to use the harder games to edit just so that you guys can see that it's not impossible and it's not even really that hard. It's not much different from any other game. But, the HUD is constantly moving, so if you were staring at the HUD like I was telling you to notice it, you weren't really going to notice it too much because the HUD does constantly sway, but it does feel right, it does feel good. The reason we do the screen pumps the way we do is because the shot gives sort of like a beat of its own, like a boom, and you want the video to be affected by those shots. So that's the reason we did that. I'm not going to go ahead and do the rest of these in the tutorial, or the rest of the clips in the tutorial, because it's just going to be too time consuming and it's pointless. It's just the same thing, rinse, wash, repeat. You judge it yourself, you crop it down yourself, and you can copy paste them and move them around however the hell you may like. Now I'm going to show you one final thing to help you highlight your shots, or however the hell you plan to do it, whatever is important to you in your video, in your clips. I'm going to show you how to do that right here. We're going to go on here, and we're going to, for the final shot, we want to highlight this shot and make it pop, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to add an effect by clicking this button right here next to the pan crop button. Right here it says Event FX, so we're going to click that, or we can right click it and do Video Event Effects. So we're going to do that. We're going to go all the way to the end, and we're going to do Color Curves. This is my best friend. I use this effect literally every clip. So we're going to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Keep it timed up with the pan crop, and we're literally just going to flare the top to where it doesn't look too bad, and we're going to dip the bottom just to kind of mellow it out, and we're kind of just going to resolve it ourselves. You do this based on your own eye, based on the preview window to the right, and if you look at that, there's a nice little color pop going on, and it just gives you this feel. It just helps add that extra oomph, and it makes it feel like it's more poppy. You should recognize this shot because it's the last shot. Okay, so that's that, and we can do a little bit more. So you remember how in the last tutorial I made sure you right-clicked your track and added composite level, right? Now here's where it comes in handy. On top of the color curves, we can go 3, 4 frames out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we'll go somewhere around here, and we'll add a point on our composite level line at the top, the dark blue line. We're going to add another one somewhere over here. Doesn't really matter, but it has to be after the last significant beat. So right here we have a significant beat where we sunk the reload, and the jump, I mean. And we're going to add another one here. We're going to move it around so it doesn't matter where, and then you drag it down to right where the shot happens, whatever looks best. And what we're going to do is we're going to right click the line and hit it to a slow fade, so it's slow and then it gets darker, and then bang! You see that very simple effect that we just did made this pop so much more, and people are gonna be like, oh yeah, that's the end of the clip. That felt good, it feels right. So it's very simple stuff that you can do to help highlight and make things work. So now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for the quad head, just so that it feels, just so you understand how simple it is to do. You don't even need to be the accurate person about the frames. It doesn't need to be 3, 4 frames. You just eyeball it, because at the end of the day, what's important is how it looks, not about following some sort of code. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do this. We're going to find after the third headshot, so right around here, and we're just going to dip it down. Okay, I'm not even going to press play. I'm confident that that's already going to look decent. But you see how if I were to just apply the color curves and not fully resolve it, it would be different. You'd notice a change between these 2 frames right here, bang, bang, because it's 2 different cuts, 2 different clips. So what I'm going to show you guys now is how to put a effect that lasts between clips. So right here, we're going to go into the track effects, which is the effects for the overall track. And I have my preset thing already that I showed you guys. But we're going to go into color curves. We're going to hit animate. We're going to hit a keyframe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again. And very simple. We're just going to make it pop the same way we did last time, except we're going to go even all the way out here to the next clip. And then we're just going to hit default. Bang. And the effect is done. It goes over all of these 3 clips, and it's slowly resolved, so you don't really even pick it up that it's going away. So very simple, very easy thing to do. It helps highlight your shots, highlight the important parts of clips, and yeah, enjoy. We're going to watch this for a final time. I'm going to do the rest of the clips off of recording, and you will see what the rest looks like in the next episode. But for now, enjoy these 2 clips that we worked on. This has been Editing 101. I hope you guys have learned something today. Adios.
my lungs turn black. I've lost my conviction to pull the knife out of my back. Caught inside